Left my irresponsible young coworkers behind at the airport after they ignored all warnings, now facing backlash from their families and higher-ups. I'm a director at my company, and when my company decided to send 2 junior-level employees to an industry event, a specialist who had been with us just over a year, 25F, fresh out of college, first job, and a summer intern, 21F, rising senior, I figured it would be a great experience for them. They weren't on my team, reported up through a different VP, and I'd barely, if ever, interacted with them in day-to-day work. Still, I wanted to help set them up for success, so I tried to give them some pointers about the event, what it would be like, what to wear, answering a lot of their eager team's messages. This was going to be the specialist's first time on a plane, and they were both excited beyond words. It was a short trip, flying in Thursday morning, out again Friday evening. I briefed them on the awards reception, explained the country western theme for Thursday night, and let them know I'd be speaking on a panel Friday morning. From the get-go, there were red flags. Thursday morning, the specialist almost missed our flight. She didn't have a real ID, had no clue what it even was, and was unfamiliar with basic airport rules, like liquid restrictions. They made her toss out some expensive skincare, and she was nearly in tears. Thursday night's event arrived. Most people were dressed business casual, sticking to theme with maybe a subtle nod, boots, maybe a hat. The intern, though, arrived in a bandana tube top, micro skirt, cowboy boots, and a hat. I quietly pulled her aside and offered her a chance to change, reminding her this was still a business event, but she shrugged me off. I look cute. It's on theme. She didn't want to hear it. After the ceremony, I invited both of them to join me and some colleagues at the hotel bar. It was an easy, networking opportunity. Instead, they told me they wanted to go check out Broadway. I tried to encourage them to mingle and network, but they just laughed, calling me mom. I told them to stay safe, reminded them of our first session the next morning, then sent a check-in text around 11 p.m. Hope you made it back safely, but got no response. The next morning, I texted again, offering to meet them for coffee before the day got started. Still nothing. I had no idea if they attended any sessions or watched my panel. Eventually, I found them sprawled in the hotel lobby, looking incredibly hungover. With a couple hours to kill between the event's end and our airport departure, I invited them to join me and our agency partners for a late lunch. Again, they waved me off. They wanted to see the Country Music Hall of Fame. I told them I wasn't sure they'd have time, and again explained that joining us would be an invaluable opportunity for them, but I could tell they thought I was just being boring. I'm leaving for the airport at 4 p.m. sharp, I informed them. Meet me in the lobby so we can share a lift. At 3:45 p.m., I texted, lift's arriving in 15 minutes. Silence. When the lift arrives, I text again, leaving for airport. Nothing. From the airport, I texted again, security line is long, heads up. Still nothing. When I got to the gate, please give me a sign of life. After 10 minutes, the intern replied, in lift, there's traffic. That was it. I let them know our flight was boarding, no reply. I boarded and texted once more, about to close doors. Still nothing. The doors closed. They didn't make it. When I landed a couple of hours later, I was greeted with a barrage of frantic texts from both of them. We're stranded in Nashville and don't know what to do, how to rebook, who to call, anything. Then, a furious voicemail from the specialist's mom, yes, her mom, accusing me of abandoning her daughter, who is apparently prone to anxiety and was now having a panic attack at the airport while I was flying home. The mom insisted she needed medical attention and warned she could be human trafficked. I tried calling both employees back, neither answered. I texted to see if they'd managed to rebook, still nothing. I forwarded them our business travel info with after-hours contacts and let them know by text. Still zero response, even when I checked in again later. I didn't call the mom back. Their director, who just joined our company a couple of weeks before, texted asking what happened. I sent her a concise summary and screenshots of my unanswered texts, as well as the transcript of the mom's voicemail. She acknowledged it but didn't pursue the conversation further. Now, I've gotten a meeting invite for Monday morning with that director, their VP, and a C-suite leader, right while my own VP is out on PTO. I know these are adults, and I was clear and communicative throughout. Ultimately, I can't be responsible for every decision they make. But am I in the wrong here? Update 1. The meeting was intense, over Teams, on camera, recorded. The kind of formal that felt more like a deposition than a work conversation. The CMO didn't show up. Instead, it was another VP, a director, and our HR internship coordinator sitting on the other side. The VP fired off all the questions, and I was more than ready for them. I had my key points laid out and focused on staying factual. I kept to what I did and saw, no speculating about the actions or motives of anyone else. Right off the bat, they asked me to recap everything, step by step, starting from when we arrived. I walked them through it calmly, making sure to detail my actions without drifting into opinion. Then I hooked up my phone to share my screen live, scrolling through the texts. I had all the timestamps and even played the voicemail from specialist's mom. It felt surreal, but I stayed composed. One question threw me for a loop. Did I ask or encourage specialist to put any expenses on her P card? I almost laughed, It was so out of left field. I made it clear I hadn't even considered that she had a P card to begin with. Other than the lift from the airport to the hotel, which I'd scheduled and paid for myself, I had never been outside of official conference events or the hotel with either specialist or intern that would have required any spending. I did mention that making sure she understood the travel and expense policies prior to the trip was, in my view, her line manager's job, not mine. They pressed on, did I reach out to anyone at the office about what was happening? I told them flat out, no, I hadn't. My intention was to talk with the office when I got back, but everything happened in a tight 32-hour window. The whole time, I was balancing my responsibilities as a panelist at the conference, attending sessions, networking face-to-face with our agency, and, not least, accepting my award. I added that any attendee, especially from a different department, would reasonably expect to have clear instructions or objectives from their own leadership. If there were any expectations of me based on other colleagues, I would have needed those communicated up front. They never asked whether I thought specialist or intern should be reprimanded, and frankly, with how things were going, I didn't feel it was right to try to steer the conversation that way. From what I gather, they're interviewing specialist and intern separately after talking to me, but I was the first one on the roster. Afterwards, I went straight to a trusted coworker to debrief, and she had some juicy feedback from the Friday water cooler grapevine. It turns out intern was definitely offended when I quietly pulled her aside about her outfit. It made its way onto her Snapchat, complete with a cryptic caption. Rumor has it that plenty of interns and employees saw it, but the consensus was the outfit was inappropriate for a work event, so at least I wasn't alone in my thinking. As for specialist, my coworker shared something wild. Allegedly, her mom called our previous director, the one who left, whose replacement was in my meeting today, about specialist work hours. Apparently, a few months ago, specialist was yanked from a major project because, when she was asked to put in some evening and weekend time for a deadline, her mom stepped in and complained. I'm not sure if I buy the whole thing, but it fits with the recent voicemail and could be part of a pattern. One bright spot that's reaffirmed my own version of events: one of our agency partners, who was with me after the ceremony on Thursday, emailed my CMO, just standard agency stuff, but in his message, he happened to corroborate my whereabouts that night without realizing it. It's a small but satisfying bit of external validation during all this. Last night, I let myself believe this might end with some kind of formal apology or acknowledgement, that maybe someone would say none of this should have landed in my lap, that I was put in a bad position. But nothing like that has happened yet, and that unresolved feeling is still hanging over me. I sent a detailed rundown of everything to my VP on Sunday, but he's on medical PTO and isn't able to really follow up, so I'm just keeping my head down and waiting to see what happens next. Update 2. It's probably not going to be as juicy as you want it to be, but I hope it offers a little closure to this whole mess. For better or worse, brevity has never been my strong suit, and I have a lot of big feelings about everything that's happened. First, let me clear the air. I honestly have no idea why my story got flagged or what exact rules were broken. I did tweak some details to protect my identity, something I thought was just smart practice to avoid being recognized. By the time everything was taken down, my notifications were out of control anyway, so I can't say I wasn't relieved to get a break from it all. It was like opening the floodgates. People were sliding into my DMs demanding proof of authenticity as if I was some uncirculated, gold-plated Sacagawea novelty coin from a midnight infomercial. I wanted to yell, I'm a real person looking for advice, not a collector's item. It's wild to see how entitled strangers become when they're just a few clicks removed from your actual life. If something you see isn't making you happy, it's not that hard to just keep scrolling. Threatening a stranger online won't magically reveal the answers you're looking for, or improve your mood. Oddly enough, despite dozens of wild guesses at who I was, a couple people did get it right, and honestly, that freaked me out. What on earth compels someone to uncover the identity of a random person venting into the internet void? If you've got that much investigative drive, use it for something worthwhile, like catching would-be school shooters or concert bombers. I'm just another elder millennial trying to fight off imposter syndrome in corporate America, pay my bills on time, and maybe, God willing, retire early so I can rescue all the geriatric Pomeranians my heart desires. I promise, I'm not worth your toughest CIA-caliber cyberstalking. For your own peace, consider making friendship bracelets or picking up diamond painting, or, if you're really that good, join the actual CIA and chase down real criminals. As far as I know, both individuals at the heart of all this are still employed. Today actually marks the official last day for our summer intern cohort. If one of my own team members had done what they did, which I find unthinkable, they're talented, sensible, smart, probably reading this and shaking their heads, I know exactly how I'd handle it. But for these two, that decision isn't mine to make. I've accepted full responsibility for stirring this pot, but now, all I want is for the drama to exit my actual place of work. I'm ready to be left out of the narrative for good. And for every person who reached out with supportive messages, thank you, truly. Your kindness meant a lot in the chaos. I did get some thoughtful advice, and I'm glad my story gave others a break from their own drama, a new HR training anecdote, or maybe even the comforting realization that your own first work trip mishap wasn't so bad after all. I decided to take the rest of the week off. It might seem dramatic, but weird experiences like this hit harder than you'd expect. I plan to use the downtime for rest, a little reflection, and, of course, indulging myself with photos of geriatric Pomeranians. Update 3. Well, my quiet week off turned into anything but restful, and I'm honestly still processing everything that's unfolded. I thought the worst of this mess was behind me, but apparently the universe had other plans. Tuesday morning, I was enjoying my coffee and scrolling through adoption websites, yes, still dreaming about those geriatric Pomeranians, when my phone started buzzing with texts from my trusted coworker. "You need to call me now," followed by holy shit and 3 fire emojis. Not exactly the peaceful morning I'd planned. Turns out, Monday's intern exit interviews had been eventful. Apparently, our HR coordinator had asked some pointed questions about the Nashville trip, and things got messy fast. The intern, who I'll call Sarah, completely threw the specialist, let's call her Emma, under the bus. According to Sarah, Emma had been acting crazy all weekend, making poor decisions, and, here's the kicker, had been hooking up with some random guy they met at a honky-tonk bar Thursday night. But wait, it gets better. Sarah claimed that Emma had used her company P card to buy drinks for this mystery man and his friends, racking up hundreds in charges. Sarah swore she tried to stop her, but Emma was out of control and clearly having some kind of mental breakdown. Sarah painted herself as the responsible one who just got caught up in Emma's chaos. I was floored. This was the first I'd heard about any of this, and suddenly that weird question about the P card during my interrogation made sense. They'd already heard Sarah's version. Here's where it gets really twisted. My coworker also heard through the grapevine that Emma's mom had apparently called our CEO directly over the weekend. Not HR, not Emma's VP, the CEO. She demanded Emma be transferred to my team because I was clearly the only responsible adult and Emma needed proper mentorship. The audacity was breathtaking. Wednesday brought the real bombshell. Emma requested a meeting with me directly. Against my better judgment, and probably company policy, I agreed to meet her for coffee off-site. She looked absolutely wrecked, dark circles, shaky hands, the works. "I need to tell you what really happened," she started, and then proceeded to unload the most insane story I've ever heard in my professional life. Apparently, after they left me Thursday night, Sarah had immediately started hitting on every guy in sight. Emma, who'd never really been in bars before, was uncomfortable and wanted to go back to the hotel. But Sarah kept ordering drinks and putting them on Emma's P card without her knowledge. Emma had left her purse at their table while she tried to call an Uber. When Emma realized what was happening and tried to stop it, Sarah told the guys Emma was uptight and jealous because she couldn't get attention. The plot twist? One of the guys Sarah was flirting with was apparently married, and his wife showed up at the bar. There was a whole scene, the wife screaming at Sarah, threatening to call the police, security getting involved. Emma, mortified and panicking, grabbed their stuff and fled. Sarah followed, furious that Emma had ruined her night. Friday, when they were supposed to meet me in the lobby, Emma was apparently having a full anxiety attack about the P card charges and wanted to find me to explain. But Sarah convinced her they'd get fired if they admitted what happened, and that they should just lay low and hope it blew over. Sarah was the one who insisted they go to the Country Music Hall of Fame and ignore my texts, claiming they needed an alibi for where they were. The nail in the coffin, Emma showed me her phone. She had screenshots of Sarah's Snapchat story from that Friday afternoon. While Emma was having a panic attack in their lift about missing the flight, Sarah was posting videos of herself laughing, with captions like "when your coworker is being dramatic and some people can't handle their first work trip." I sat there staring at this kid who looked like she hadn't slept in a week, and honestly, my heart broke for her. But I also felt this cold fury at how I'd been set up to take the fall for Sarah's manipulations. The kicker? Emma told me that Sarah had texted her after the exit interview, saying she was sorry but had to save her own ass and that Emma should learn to stand up for herself. I told Emma she needed to go to HR immediately with all of this information. She's terrified she'll be fired, but I explained that the cover-up was probably worse than the original incident, and that Sarah had essentially committed fraud with the P card situation. As I'm writing this, Emma is meeting with HR and her VP. I have no idea how this is going to play out, but I have a feeling Monday is going to bring some very interesting developments. The whole situation has me questioning everything about workplace dynamics and how quickly someone can manipulate a narrative. I keep thinking about how close I came to being the scapegoat for Sarah's scheming, and it makes me sick. I'm dreading going back to work, but I'm also morbidly curious to see how this all unfolds. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more shoes waiting to drop. Update 4. Update 4. Monday morning came way too fast, and honestly, I was tempted to call in sick again. But I knew avoiding the office would only make things worse, so I dragged myself in with my biggest coffee and tried to blend into the background. The energy in the office was weird. People kept glancing at me, and conversations seemed to stop when I walked by. My coworker filled me in during our usual coffee run. Apparently, Emma's meeting with HR had gone late into Friday afternoon, and word was already spreading that something big had happened. Around 10 a.m., I got a calendar invite that made my stomach drop. Emergency meeting at 2 p.m. with the same cast of characters from my first interrogation, plus Emma's mom via phone. Yes, her mother was going to be on a work call. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. But the real bombshell came at lunch. Emma cornered me in the parking lot, looking even worse than she had at our coffee meeting. I need to tell you something else, she whispered, glancing around like she was afraid of being overheard. About Thursday night. There's more. Turns out, the married guy whose wife had shown up at the bar? He works for one of our biggest clients, and he'd recognized Emma and Sarah as employees from our company because of their conference badges, which they'd apparently kept wearing like accessories. When his wife started screaming about Sarah flirting with her husband, she'd specifically mentioned our company name and threatened to make sure their bosses knew what kind of employees they hired. My blood ran cold. A client complaint could torpedo careers, contracts, everything. There's something else, Emma continued, and I thought I might actually throw up. Sarah didn't just use my P card that night. She took a picture of it. And she's been using the numbers to order stuff online. I only figured it out this weekend when I was going through my statements. Credit card fraud. Sarah had committed actual credit card fraud. Emma, you need to report this to the police, not just HR, I told her, but she shook her head frantically. I can't. My mom will kill me. She already thinks I'm going to get fired, and she's been calling everyone she can think of to try to save my job. She even reached out to some board members she went to college with. The afternoon meeting was a disaster. Emma's mom was on speakerphone, alternating between sobbing about her baby girl and demanding that Sarah be arrested. The VP looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. HR was frantically taking notes. And then Emma's mom dropped the nuclear bomb. I've already spoken to Channel 5 News about this, she announced. They're very interested in a story about young women being taken advantage of at corporate events. The silence in that conference room was deafening. Our VP's face went completely white. The company's worst nightmare is bad press, and Emma's mom had just threatened us with a sexual harassment scandal on local news. That's when things got really interesting. Our CMO, who'd been silent up until now, suddenly leaned forward. Mrs. Peterson, before you make any statements to the media, you should know that we have security footage from the hotel that shows a very different story than what your daughter initially reported. I watched Emma's face crumble. Apparently, the hotel had cameras in the lobby and bar area, and they'd pulled the footage after the P-card fraud came to light. The video reportedly showed Sarah initiating everything, the flirting, the drinking, the scene with the married man's wife. It also showed Emma trying to leave multiple times while Sarah physically prevented her from going. But here's the twist that no one saw coming. The CMO revealed that the married man from the bar had actually called our company Friday morning, before we'd even landed back home. He'd gotten our contact info from the conference materials and wanted to clarify what had happened, worried that his wife's threats might cause problems for the young lady who tried to help defuse the situation. He'd specifically praised Emma for trying to get Sarah to leave and apologizing for Sarah's behavior. He even mentioned that Emma had offered to pay for the drinks Sarah had ordered, not knowing they were already going on her company card. Emma's mom went quiet on the phone. Really quiet. The meeting ended with Emma being placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation, but it was clear she wasn't going to be fired. Sarah, on the other hand, was terminated immediately for fraud and misrepresentation. Security escorted her out that afternoon. But wait, there's more. Around 4 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You ruined my life and I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Sarah had gotten my personal cell number somehow and was apparently not going quietly. Then, around 6 p.m., as I was finally heading home, my coworker called me in a panic. You need to check Sarah's Instagram. Now. Sarah had posted a long, rambling story about being betrayed by corporate America and specifically called me out by name, claiming I had orchestrated everything to make her look bad because I was jealous of her youth and attractiveness. She'd posted photos from the conference, including one of me at the awards ceremony, with captions about fake corporate feminists who tear down other women. The post was already getting traction, with people who knew nothing about the situation commenting about toxic work environments and protecting young women. A few people had already started tagging our company's official account. I screenshotted everything and forwarded it to HR, but honestly, I'm terrified about what this means for my reputation and career. Sarah has nothing left to lose now, and she's clearly willing to twist the narrative however she needs to. As I'm writing this, I've got my phone on silent because it keeps buzzing with notifications. I don't even want to look. Tomorrow, I have to meet with our legal team about the social media posts and the potential client complaint. I just wanted to mentor some young employees and ended up in the middle of corporate warfare. At this point, those geriatric Pomeranians are looking better and better as career alternatives. Update 5. Tuesday morning brought a development I absolutely did not see coming, and honestly, I'm still reeling from it. I'd barely made it through my coffee when my phone started ringing. Unknown number, but something told me to answer it. Is this the woman from the Nashville conference? The voice was unfamiliar, hesitant. My name is Jessica. I think we need to talk. Turns out Jessica was the wife of the married man from the honky-tonk bar. She'd seen Sarah's Instagram post and recognized her immediately as that girl who was all over my husband. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Jessica wasn't calling to yell at me. She was calling to apologize. I owe you an explanation, she said. That night at the bar. I knew my husband was there. I followed him. My blood went cold. I'm sorry, what? Jessica proceeded to tell me the most insane story. Her husband, Mark, had been acting suspicious for weeks. She'd found conference materials in his car and decided to follow him to Nashville. She'd been watching him at the bar for over an hour before Sarah even approached him. "He's been having an affair," she said quietly. "Not with that girl, with someone else entirely. Someone from your industry." I thought maybe she was the one, but when I saw her throwing herself at him, I realized she was just another victim of his games. The plot twist? Mark had been intentionally encouraging Sarah, buying her drinks, probably planning to sleep with her, while his wife watched from across the bar. Jessica had finally snapped when she saw Sarah getting more intoxicated and realized this young woman had no idea what she was walking into. "I wasn't angry at her," Jessica explained. "I was angry at him for targeting someone so young. That's why I made such a scene. I wanted to embarrass him, not her. And when I saw the other girl trying to get her friend to leave, I felt terrible for both of them." But here's the kicker, Jessica had recorded the entire confrontation on her phone. She had video evidence of Mark deliberately getting Sarah drunk, of Emma trying to intervene, of Sarah using Emma's card without permission. Everything. "I've been debating whether to reach out," Jessica said. "But when I saw that girl's Instagram post blaming you and that sweet girl who tried to help, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You didn't destroy her life, my husband did. And she's too young and naive to even realize it." I was speechless. This woman was essentially offering to be a witness in our favor, providing evidence that could completely vindicate both Emma and me. But there was more. "There's something else you should know," Jessica continued. "After the bar incident, Mark came back to our hotel room bragging about how he was going to teach that little blonde a lesson about playing with married men. He had her business card, apparently she gave it to him during their conversation. He's been texting her ever since." My stomach dropped. Texting her about what? Promising to help her career, offering her a job at his company, telling her he has connections that could make her problems go away. He's been manipulating her, making her think he's her savior. This explains so much: Sarah's confidence in trashing Emma and me, her belief that she could somehow come out of this unscathed. She thought she had a powerful ally. She had no idea she was being played by a serial predator. "I'm getting a divorce," Jessica said. "And I'm taking him for everything he's worth. But first, I want to make sure that girl understands what kind of man she's gotten involved with." I spent the rest of Tuesday morning forwarding Jessica's contact information to our legal team and HR. By afternoon, they'd spoken with her and obtained copies of her evidence. The video footage was damning. It clearly showed Mark deliberately targeting Sarah while Emma tried to protect her friend. But Wednesday brought an even bigger shock. Emma called me, sobbing. "Sarah's in the hospital," she managed between tears. She tried to hurt herself last night. Apparently, Sarah's Instagram post had backfired spectacularly. Instead of gaining sympathy, people who knew her started coming forward with their own stories of her manipulative behavior. Former classmates, previous coworkers, even family friends began commenting about times Sarah had lied or thrown others under the bus. The narrative she'd tried to create was crumbling in real time. But the breaking point came when Mark, her supposed white knight, suddenly stopped responding to her texts. Jessica had confronted him with divorce papers and evidence of his affairs. He'd panicked and blocked Sarah on everything, leaving her to face the consequences alone. "She called me at 2 a.m., Emma continued. She was drunk and rambling about how everyone had abandoned her, how her whole life was ruined. She kept saying she was sorry, but also blaming me for not backing up her story. I tried to talk to her, but she hung up. The next thing I knew, her roommate was calling 911. I felt sick. Despite everything Sarah had done, she was still just a 21-year-old kid who'd gotten in way over her head. The combination of public humiliation, job loss, and manipulation by an older man had pushed her to a breaking point. "Is she going to be okay?" I asked. "Physically, yes. But Emma, there's something else. The doctors found something when they were treating her." My heart sank. "What kind of something?" "She's pregnant." The silence stretched between us as the implications sank in. Sarah, who'd been drinking heavily in Nashville and probably every day since, was pregnant. And given the timeline, there was a very real possibility that Mark was the father. "Does she know?" I asked. "She knows. And she's convinced it's his. She's been trying to call him from the hospital, but his number's disconnected. Jessica said he fled the state yesterday." This whole situation had just gone from corporate drama to a potential criminal investigation. Mark hadn't just manipulated a young employee, he'd potentially assaulted someone who was too intoxicated to consent, gotten her pregnant, and then abandoned her when things got complicated. Our legal team is now working with law enforcement on what they're calling a complex multi-jurisdictional case. Sarah's social media posts have been taken down, but not before being screenshotted by investigators as evidence of her mental state and Mark's influence over her. Emma's been cleared of all wrongdoing and is returning to work next week. The company has also implemented new policies about travel supervision and expense card protocols. But honestly, none of that feels important right now. I keep thinking about Sarah, alone in that hospital room, dealing with consequences she never could have imagined when she put on that bandana tube top just a few days ago. Mark is probably halfway across the country by now, already targeting his next victim, while 3 women's lives have been forever changed by his predatory behavior. The worst part? I can't shake the feeling that if I'd handled things differently in Nashville, if I'd been more insistent about them staying with me, if I'd recognized the signs of what was happening, maybe none of this would have occurred. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to return to normal work duties. But honestly, I don't think any of us involved in this are ever going to be quite the same.